Welcome to this podcast. This is a podcast dealing with the trucks cartel and the claims that those purchasing trucks and otherwise using trucks may have. We are Edwin Coe, LLP. We're a firm of lawyers in central London. I am David Green, I'm senior partner, and I'm also joined by my partner, Zara Hussain. And we're just going to run through in a few minutes the nature of the claim, some of the background history, and what you would have to do next if you wanted to make a claim. So I'm going to start, and Zara's going to go into the detail because she deals with this on a day-to-day basis. So I'm just going to start by asking her just generally about the background of the cartel. Tell us about that, Zara.
Thank you, David. So these are claims for damages which arise out of an investigation by the European Commission. The Commission investigated 6 different truck manufacturers. I won't list all their names right now because they're on the slide. And the Commission found that the 6 were guilty of a price-fixing cartel. And the cartel related to medium and heavy-sized trucks, so that's trucks that weigh 6 tons or more. The cartel was found by the Commission to have started in 1997, and quite unusually, it started. It lasted for quite a lengthy period. It went on until 2011, when the Commission raided the manufacturer's offices. The cartel was found to operate all across Europe, so it was very wide-ranging in its scope and also extensive in terms of time frame. And as a result, any businesses or institutions which have purchased, leased or subcontracted trucks between 1997 and 2011 or little time thereafter are likely to have overpaid for their trucks.
Okay, and what sort of overpayment would they have made for trucks? And then indeed, what sort of trucks are we talking about?
So as I mentioned, we're talking about medium and heavy trucks, so in other words, trucks that weighed 6 tons or more. And it doesn't matter whether the trucks were purchased or manufactured by the cartelists. So for example, if somebody has purchased a truck from Dennis or Isuzu, that would still count, because we would argue that the conduct of the 6 manufacturers had an impact on the entire trucks market, bearing in mind their share of the trucks market, which equates to around 90%.
That accounts for that rather nice picture of an umbrella on the slide.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about umbrella claims, in other words, claims that are from non-cartelists.
Yes. So the finding of the Commission establishes liability, and the only issue, and I say only, we'll talk about that, issue that needs to be determined is the quantification of the loss. And what sort of losses are we talking about? How is this overpriced, this cartel, how is it overpriced the cost of a truck?
Well, it's estimated that each brand new truck which was sold in the period was overpriced by up to 20%. And some say that that equates to each new truck being overpriced by up to 10,000 euros. And I refer to euros because, as I mentioned, the cartel was all across Europe. In addition, we have to include the interest element, and bearing in mind that the claims first started over 20 years ago, the interest element will be very significant. And so these are definitely sizable claims which are worth exploring.
Okay. And how do you explore them? I mean, what's happening at the moment in relation to these claims?
So we, Edwin Coe, have issued a claim on behalf of clients. The proceedings were issued towards the end of 2018. We are now getting ready to issue a further claim on behalf of clients who've signed up with us after the first set of proceedings was issued. In order to get the claim off the ground, the key information that we really need is how many trucks do you think you've purchased or leased or subcontracted? And in terms of purchased or leased trucks, if we can have the chassis numbers or the registration numbers if the chassis numbers are unavailable, then we can use those to populate most of the key details which are required to get the claim off the ground, such as who the truck's manufacturer happened to be.
But this is back to 97. And well, if I bought trucks in '97, I probably haven't got much record of those trucks. I either sold them on or I scrapped them many, many years ago, and I don't particularly have those records. So how am I going to produce those?
Well, we can do some economic modelling and have a look at what the business's current expenditure on trucks looks like. And we can use that to try and extrapolate the relevant trends that may have existed in the cartel period. So we can use that to formulate some patterns and have a look at what the likely expenditure might have been. I should also add that actually I found with a lot of clients, when they go away and dig for documents, it's quite surprising how much material they have found when they've actually looked at their records. And it may not necessarily be purchase or lease agreements. It may instead be some spreadsheet that's squirreled away which has some relevant data on it. Or it may be DVLA documents, for example.
Right, so if I haven't got records, not the end of the world. This is a cartel that was taking place in secret, and the tribunal will be very much familiar with the idea that after so many years, someone has destroyed those records and won't have them. In terms of litigation, I might have some concerns about litigation. It's expensive, lawyers are expensive, and you're up against very substantial companies. How's that going to work in terms of meeting the expense of the process, and indeed the risks that go with it, which is adverse costs, that for some reason the case is lost, and I haven't suffered any loss in the end. How do I cover that?
So in terms of costs, your own costs as the claim progresses, I'm pleased to say that we are able to offer a no-win, no-fee arrangement for clients because we have a third-party funder who's covering the legal costs and disbursements. And as a result, there is nothing for clients to pay as the claim progresses. If the claim is successful, then the funder will take 25% of the damages and interest which is recovered. But as I say, in exchange, it's a cost and a risk-free process. And the reason that there is a risk-free process available is because we have what's called after the event insurance in place. And that insurance kicks in the event that the claim is unsuccessful for some reason.
And that covers my potential adverse costs?
Yes, it covers your downside, so that if an order is made that you have to pay the defendant's costs, then the insurance policy will kick in.
All right, so I bought a truck, I have a claim because of the cartel, I know my damages, and I can pursue the claim without cost or risk. Is that how it is?
Yes, that's right. So if you think you've got a claim, please get in touch with us. We'd be happy to have a no obligation conversation just to see what the truck numbers might look like, what records you may have, and to assess whether the claim is viable. But as you say, David, it's a cost and risk-free process that we're able to offer clients.
All right, and then I suppose another final question might be, why Edwin Coe? Why should I come to Edwin Coe rather than anyone else?
Well, as a firm, we have some 25 years of experience in these types of claims. Not me personally, I hasten to add, but having issued a claim already, we are well versed in the types of arguments that the defendants are likely to raise, the type of information that needs to be provided, and the kinds of issues that may arise. In addition, as I mentioned, we've got a third-party funder on board, which means that we can offer an entirely cost and risk-free claims process to all of our clients.
All right, so what do I have to do next?
Well, if you think you've got a claim, please contact us. Our contact details are on the slide. As I mentioned, we're happy to have a no obligation conversation just to run things through and check the viability of the claim.
Okay, super. Thanks very much. And thank you for watching this. As Zara said, there's a slide with details to contact us. Again, as she says, feel free, give us a call. We'll give you some advice. There's no obligation in relation to it as to whether you have a claim. And I should add is that it doesn't matter whether you bought outright trucks or you've leased them or you've used trucking services. In any of those circumstances, you may have a claim. So give us a ring and we can take it further.